Court does call the case of the people of the state of Michigan versus Seth Highmore.
Good morning, Your Honor. Ashley Lonnie for the people.
This opening moment sets the tone immediately. Judge Simpson announces the case formally, but what lies beneath that formality is a tragedy that has torn two families apart. Right away, we know this isn't a minor hearing. It's a sentencing in a case involving the death of a young man. That means emotions will run high, and the stakes couldn't be more real. As viewers think about what sentencing represents, not just punishment, but closure, or at least an attempt at it. Here we are about to hear directly from the people most affected, grieving parents, family members, and loved ones. Their words are not scripted. They're raw, painful, and deeply personal. When you watch Judge Simpson's demeanor, notice how calm but deliberate he is. He knows what's coming, and he's preparing the courtroom for an emotional storm. Stick with us, because what unfolds isn't just legal procedure, it's heartbreak colliding with justice, and the twists ahead will leave you stunned.
Hey, good morning, Your Honor. Dan Guerin on behalf of Seth Highmore. Seth, can you state your name to the judge, please?
Seth Highmore?
Okay. Go ahead. Yeah. Your Honor, we are here for a sentencing. I'll start first with there are no factual corrections of the information. I understand there's victim statements. Would Your Honor like to hear those first?
Yes.
Certainly. We'll have a seat at the council table if that's okay.
Yes. All right.
Your Honor, I do believe we'll have 3 statements this morning.
That's fine. All right.
First will be victim's mother.
How you doing, Your Honor?
I'm doing well.
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you state your name for me, please?
I'm Gina Cornett, Jeremy's mother.
All right.
The moment Jeremy's mother introduces herself, the atmosphere shifts. She doesn't just step up as a witness, she steps up as a mother who lost her son. And when she begins to talk about the 2-year void since his death, the silence in that courtroom becomes deafening. Legally, this is called a victim impact statement. It's not evidence, but it allows the court to understand the human cost of a crime. Watch Judge Simpson here. He pauses, he encourages her to take her time. That's not courtroom theatrics. That's a judge recognizing the weight of grief. Her words about missing her son during holidays, about his daughter Aubrey needing counseling, cut deeper than any attorney's argument could. Now here's the question for you. Should forgiveness, which she offers Seth High, play a role in sentencing, or should the court focus strictly on punishment? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this balance between mercy and justice is one of the hardest dilemmas in criminal law.
I'm Earl Cornett, father. All right. Very good. All right. Go ahead, ma'am.
Your Honor, it's been 2 years on Friday.
Let me just stop you for a moment, okay? Do me a favor. Just make sure to take a deep breath. Take whatever time you need. I'm here all day, so you just
Okay.
I want you to tell me what you want to tell me. So
Okay.
all right, so don't try to rush through or anything. Go ahead.
Well, like I was saying, Friday would be 2 years that our son was killed in a horrific car accident. And you can't even imagine the loss that has happened to us in our family, the void that has been put in our lives. We don't have our son with his kids to visit us every weekend. We miss him on the holidays, especially Easter, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. There's such a void. What has happened has impacted not only us, but our grandchildren. Jeremy's daughter, Aubrey, she's had to have counseling because of the horrific feelings that she's had to feel losing her dad. And Dominic kind of suppressed right now. And she has seen a psychiatrist, Aubrey has. And I like to say to Seth Highmore that he has to carry his cross for what has happened. I don't hate him. I forgive him. I forgive that. I can't even imagine But I just forgive him, and I just hope that down deep in his heart, he realizes the impact that he's done to this family.
Stop here for a second. Think about the strength it takes to look at the man responsible for your son's death and say, I forgive you. That's not weakness, that's extraordinary courage. In courtrooms, forgiveness often shocks defendants more than anger. But notice what she adds. Forgiveness does not erase accountability. She wants Seth to spend time in jail, not forever, but enough to think deeply about the consequences of his actions. From a legal standpoint, this is critical. She's distinguishing between vengeance and justice. She's not asking for the maximum, she's asking for something proportional. And that kind of request can carry serious weight with a judge. It shows reason, not rage. Now think, if you were in her shoes, could you ever muster that level of forgiveness? Or would you demand the harshest penalty possible? That's the kind of human question the legal system can't answer, but you can.
Our son didn't have a chance. He was just killed so fast and instantly. It just was horrible. And here's a picture of our son, Lord, Your Honor.
My eyes were better, but
I would like everyone to see his face. He's a happy-go-lucky kid. And I just feel, Your Honor, that whatever you decide on Seth's sentencing, my feelings is that, I feel that he don't have to do whatever the max time that he has, but I feel he should at least do 3 months in jail to think about what he done to us. And I think that that's fair enough because he needs time to think about this. He does not even probably realize the impact he's done to this family. And I just want to say that I don't hate him. I pray for him, but he should be able to realize that what he's done has just been horrible. And that's all I got to say, Your Honor.
thank you.
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
As the mother finishes, the father steps in. His perspective adds another dimension to this grief. While his wife emphasizes forgiveness and measured justice, he reflects on the trauma of that night, the knock at the door, the officers delivering the news, the disbelief that followed. His voice cracks with the weight of 2 years of anxiety and medication just to get through daily life. Here's where the courtroom intersects with psychology. Traumatic loss doesn't fade, it imprints permanently. And when he describes Seth's decision to drive at 70 miles per hour on autopilot during Ann Arbor rush hour, he highlights the recklessness. No alcohol, no drugs, just a decision so careless that it destroyed a family. He doesn't recommend a sentence. He leaves it in Judge Simpson's hands. But his words plant a seed. Accountability requires more than sympathy. Should autopilot negligence be punished like reckless driving or treated differently? That's a debate still echoing in legal circles today.
I've been thinking about this for 2 years now. It's been very hard. There's 2 officers come on that night at midnight, knock on the door and give you some terrible news that your son was killed. I talked to them for 10 or 15 minutes and they left. And I turned around to my wife. I goes, what did they just tell me? It didn't register in my mind. And since then, I've been on anxiety pills 2 years now because it was such a shock, I guess, to me and the children and our family. A parent shouldn't have to bury their own child. He was our only son and have to bury him. It was terrible. And in this crash, Your Honor, he set his car on autopilot at 70 miles an hour, driving into Ann Arbor in rush hour. Everyone who lives in Michigan knows Ann Arbor traffic is backed up both ways, coming and going. And he did this in the middle of the afternoon. And I think he needs some common sense. I think common sense should have told him better than that, Your Honor. And I'm going to leave it to the discretion of the court and probation, the sentence, and I'm not going to recommend anything. And I'm going to say that my wife and me will pray for the Hammer family, because I know it's cost them a lot too. A very, very sad thing. And I want to thank you, Your Honor, for listening to us.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Hello, Your Honor. My name is Sherry Krogel, and I was the deceased was my boyfriend at the time.
The girlfriend's testimony adds a raw, intimate perspective. She wasn't just someone who knew Jeremy, she was on the phone with him when he died. Imagine the trauma of hearing your partner's final moments, powerless on the other end of the line. Unlike the parents, she doesn't push for jail. Instead, she suggests something unique, that Seth should educate others, speaking in schools about the consequences of distracted or careless driving. This is fascinating legally, because it touches on restorative justice. Instead of focusing solely on punishment, she asks, can something positive come out of tragedy? Could one life lost prevent another? Judges don't always take such suggestions seriously, but when they come directly from a victim's loved one, they carry moral weight. Do you think sentencing should focus more on rehabilitation and prevention, or do you believe punishment alone deters future tragedies?
We were on the phone when it happened, so for 2 years, hearing on and off, trying to figure out what was going on. I've went through a lot of different emotions on how I feel on the situation. He was my best friend. You can't get that back. But I don't personally feel that all lives should be ruined. So for me, what I think would be more beneficial, and I don't know if it would even be able to be a consideration, is that he was to have to take time out of his life to go to like a driver's ed or school and talk about, just 1 second of not paying attention. Because if it could change one person's life for the better, that's what I think. I don't think more lives need to be ruined over an accident. That's it.
Thank you.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Now we shift to the defense attorney, and notice the contrast. After 3 heart-wrenching victim statements, the defense must step up and advocate for the man responsible. This is one of the toughest jobs in the legal world. His strategy. He acknowledges the grief, shows sympathy, then pivots to the facts. He stresses Seth's lack of prior criminal history, his exhaustion after a 14-hour shift, and the absence of drugs, alcohol, or cell phone use. This is classic mitigation. The defense is saying this wasn't malice, it was human failure. But here's the challenge. Is human failure enough to excuse taking a life? That's the tension Judge Simpson must resolve. And here's something to watch closely. The attorney also requests the court consider restitution and probation over jail. The battle lines are clear now. The victims ask for accountability. The defense asks for leniency. Which side should prevail?
Your Honor, I'd say without any hesitation that, the two most difficult tasks and I think most defense attorneys face are, one, standing up after a victim statement that was, especially one with such grace, humility, and emotion that those poor people had to go through. And I certainly extend my sympathies to them on behalf of Mr. Highmore. And secondly, is to try to make sense of these types of cases, these types of charges, which I think we all agree in the system are the most emotional, most difficult cases to sort out. because they are the only, or if not the only, one of the only offenses that bring accidental and negligent conduct into a criminal courtroom like today. But we're ready to deal with that. And I want to start with some cold and sterile requests, Your Honor. One, I think I mentioned, Your Honor, in chambers, I would ask Your Honor to either order restitution today with the condition that that may be revisited if in fact that was contemplated in the civil lawsuit that was settled, or to reserve restitution for a short amount of time while I talk to the insurance attorney. Secondly, Your Honor, of course, I'm asking you to follow the recommendation. I can't sit here and say I'm asking to impose jail time on my client. That would be difficult for me to say, but I do think that Ms. Polera understands her role very well and made a very good recommendation here. And if Your Honor believes that that jail time is appropriate, my client is ready to go in today, of course. Your Honor, I will say this. As we look at the conduct here, I think that the victims are probably searching for an answer as to what happened. I would be too, if my loved one was killed or injured, and I don't think we're ever going to be able to offer that. Mr. Highmore doesn't have much of a memory. The police investigation didn't show that he was doing anything by way of reckless conduct, drinking, using drugs, using his phone. They checked all of those things. I think this was a situation in which Mr. Highmore simply either zoned out, didn't pay attention, and possibly we've learned a little bit about his medical condition since. He had worked a 14-hour shift in the sun, dehydrated, and certainly his actions have resulted in the death of this poor young man. I will say, of course, Your Honor, that Mr. Highmore has no prior criminal history, no subsequent criminal history. This was, of course, 2 years ago.
Let's break down what the defense just argued. They stress that Seth will live with this tragedy forever, that losing his driving privileges, carrying a conviction, and enduring social shame is punishment in itself. This is a key defense theme in negligent homicide cases. The argument that the guilt and consequences outside prison are harsher than any sentence a judge could impose. But does that satisfy justice for Jeremy's family? Think about the mother's words. 3 months in jail, just to think. That wasn't about vengeance, it was about reflection. So here's the clash: emotional justice versus legal precedent. Courts must weigh deterrence, rehabilitation, and retribution all at once. But in high-profile cases like this, judges also weigh the message they send. If Seth walks out with no jail time, what message does that send to every driver relying on autopilot at highway speeds?
I think Ms. Pilar noted that my client has shown remorse. He can't say a lot, unfortunately, because of potential civil liability. But I think his emotion, his family, all of whom are here, have written letters to say what a good young man this was and is, and I think will be affected the rest of his life. He's lost his privileges to drive. He's convicted, doesn't pale in any way in comparison to what the victims have gone through here. But I think that the impact on him has been profound. I think that the victim's mother, her desire for him to be impacted, I think will come true and has come true, and that he has been greatly impacted. So, Your Honor, I am ultimately asking you to follow the recommendation with those modifications.
Miss, yes, Ms. Levy.
Yes, I saw. Thank you, Your Honor. As to the restitution issue, just so the record is clear, the restitution that's been recommended by probation to be ordered was simply for the funeral expenses for the victims. So there was a civil lawsuit that may or may not have included those funeral expenses, certainly did include other monies paid, but that is, just so the record is clear, the only thing that probation ordered was for the funeral.
And as indicated, Your Honor, certainly we would never challenge the amount. It's just whether that was covered. And if not, then that will be certainly part of my client's order to pay back immediately.
Well, let me just deal with that. The record should reflect that I had a in-chambers conference with counsel. That issue was raised, and I will say that I'm going to order that restitution amount today.
Judge Simpson makes an important clarification here. Restitution is not optional. Funeral expenses will be covered, no matter what. This might sound like a technical point, but it's not. Restitution represents acknowledgement that the harm caused has financial as well as emotional consequences. Courts often debate whether insurance settlements cancel restitution obligations. Judge Simpson rejects that loophole. His stance is clear. If the family paid out of pocket to bury their child, that must be repaid. That decision underscores his balance between compassion and law. It also hints at how he'll approach the sentencing: structured, deliberate, unwilling to minimize the family's suffering. For viewers, here's a takeaway. Sentencing isn't just about years in prison, it's also about ensuring victims are not left with the financial scars of another's negligence. Accountability is measured in both time served and dollars paid.
If it was covered either by an insurance or through some lawsuit, then one of two things then would happen if that was indeed paid, well, specifically directed toward those expenses. And so I want to be clear on that. If out of the settlement, the family used some of those funds to bury their child, that doesn't count in my book. It would have to be something that would have specifically been directed toward those expenses. If that was paid, then one of two things would happen to the amount paid by the defendant. Either it would go back to the defendant or would go to the insurance company, which paid the funds to the family. So.
Understood, Your Honor. Thank you for that clarification.
Let me just say at the outset, I think particularly to both families, all the years I've been on the bench, these types of cases, either in terms of adjudicating them or in terms of sentencing, are absolutely the worst.
Here, Judge Simpson steps into one of the most difficult roles a judge ever faces: sentencing in a case where no one is inherently evil. He acknowledges that neither side is made up of bad people. That's unusual to hear in court. Often, judges deal with hardened criminals. But here, the tragedy is born from negligence, not malice. That makes sentencing more complicated, not less. How do you punish someone who isn't a danger to society, but whose actions ended a life? Notice Simpson's word choice: problematic, balance, worst cases. This shows the emotional toll these decisions take even on judges. They're human too, forced to weigh justice against compassion. And this is where we as viewers ask, what should sentencing accomplish? Should it punish, rehabilitate, deter, or offer closure? Keep watching, because Judge Simpson's decision is going to try to do all of that at once.
And they're the worst from my standpoint, because in a lot of ways, sometimes you have sort of, I don't want to really call it good and evil, but you have somebody who is bad, and it's easy to then point the finger and to do something. But typically, and as I was going through the defense's letters that he sent in, and hearing about him, I would just indicate that, and then hearing about the deceased in this case, these aren't bad people, either side of it. And so it becomes problematic sometimes for the court. I'll say problematic, but it's what I have to do. I have to find some balance in terms of what I do. Before I continue, I guess, sir, is there anything you want to say? I do have to offer that to your allocution.
Yeah, I would just like to say that I am extremely sorry for what happened at the incident. And if there's anything I could do to change it, I promise I would.
When Seth himself finally speaks, his words are brief. I am extremely sorry, and that's it. No lengthy explanation, no excuses, just an apology. Now, some might see this as genuine remorse. Others may find it lacking, too short, too late. In sentencing hearings, a defendant's allocution is often their last chance to humanize themselves in front of the judge. But there's a dilemma here. His attorney earlier hinted that Seth can't say too much because of civil liability concerns. That may be legally smart, but emotionally, It leaves the victims' families unsatisfied. This is a critical tension in courtrooms, legal strategy versus human closure. Do you think his apology came across as heartfelt, or did it feel like a legal checkbox? Judges weigh these impressions heavily, because sincerity or the lack of it can tip the scales when deciding punishment.
And that's all, Your Honor.
I will tell you folks, I have been thinking about this since the time of the plea. Particularly last night, it was what to do was weighing very heavily on me. And I could just share one thing with you, and I have certainly other thoughts. But as I was thinking about your family, and I had not met you, I don't think I had ever laid eyes on you. But I was sitting there and I received a text from my son. And it was something silly. I mean, he had charged my Amazon account for something he was buying. And he wanted to pay me back and put it back into my account. I thought about it for a minute, and it doesn't really mean much, but I told him it didn't matter to me. And it didn't matter to me because I heard from him.
Judge Simpson shares a deeply personal story here. He recalls receiving a text from his son about something trivial and realizing how precious that moment was. Why does he share this? Because it highlights what the victim's parents will never experience again, a random everyday interaction with their child. This is unusual judicial behavior. Simpson is dropping the robe, speaking as a father. That vulnerability matters. It humanizes him to the families, showing he isn't just applying statutes, he's connecting their grief to his own life. In courtrooms, such personal anecdotes are rare, but when used, they amplify the weight of sentencing. Viewers, take note, this isn't a judge removed from emotion. This is a father who understands loss on a hypothetical level, reflecting on how unbearable it must be in reality. That humanity often shapes sentencing outcomes more than legal briefs ever could.
And I thought about you guys. And just the sadness that you don't get that text message. I don't know. I can't even imagine how you guys feel. People can say, though, that they want to put themselves in your place and can't imagine it, can't do it. I don't think you can be there till you're there. And then you don't know. To listen to Dad say that there were two officers talking to him and it's just not registered. I don't even know how you receive that kind of news. And what's difficult, certainly, is and hard to explain and hard for human beings to accept, is when the natural order of things are in place. We're not supposed to bury our children. We're just not. And it really almost calls, when something like that happens, for you to try to figure out the world. Like I said, I have never met you before, but ma'am, I you're a testament to what is good.
Here, Judge Simpson addresses the victim's mother directly, calling her forgiveness an extraordinary gift. This is powerful. Think about it. In a legal system built on punishment, forgiveness can feel radical. He admits that even he isn't sure he could offer the same grace if it were his child. That acknowledgement not only validates her words but also elevates them. He frames her forgiveness as almost miraculous, a mother's grace beyond comprehension. For Seth, this is pivotal. A judge is explicitly telling him, "You've been given mercy you didn't deserve." That sets the expectation that his sentencing must honor that gift by reflecting on it seriously. Question for you. Do you believe forgiveness should reduce sentencing, or should mercy in the courtroom remain symbolic, while punishment stays firm?
I don't know the strength and the courage it took. Sir, you need to realize the extraordinary gift she gave you today. Because I don't know, I'd like to think of myself as a good person. But I don't know that I could get there, stand there, give a victim's impact statement where this had happened to my child and ever forgive you. And for her to come here and basically that's the first thing out of her mouth. There's probably nothing greater than a mother's grace. Ma'am, I thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Certainly with me today. Every day I always expect that there's going to be a miracle. I never know what it's going to be. Your words, in my mind, were that today for me. And to his girlfriend, I would just say, I can't imagine. And I wasn't aware of it till you said it that you were on the phone with her.
When the girlfriend reveals she was on the phone during the fatal crash, the room freezes. Judge Simpson acknowledges it, visibly shaken. This detail reframes the tragedy. Jeremy didn't just vanish. Someone heard his final moments. That's a trauma that will replay in her mind forever. From a legal perspective, this is not a sentencing factor. It doesn't alter statutes or guidelines. But emotionally, it magnifies the devastation. Judges often say they hear everything, but moments like this cut deeper than reports or police files. It's another reminder that behind every case file is a ripple effect of lives permanently altered. For viewers, think about this. When a defendant's negligence kills, it doesn't just end a life. It scars dozens of others who carry the pain forward every single day.
Just trying to move on. And that's hard. And again, I don't know where, when that happens, you even begin. I respect all of you in terms of your courage to come forth and to give those statements that you gave. And for waiting all of this time as our system kind of worked itself through to even get to this day. I realize no matter what I do, with all the power and all the everything that comes with this robe, I can't do the thing that I would wish to do most.
This is one of Judge Simpson's most candid admissions. With all the power of his position, he still cannot do what the families want most: bring Jeremy back. That acknowledgement strips the illusion of judicial omnipotence. Judges can impose fines, probation, prison, but they cannot reverse time. That truth makes sentencing in negligent death cases uniquely agonizing. The families want justice, but justice here can never feel complete. What Simpson does instead is emphasize that he has listened, that every word of pain and forgiveness will stay with him. This matters because victims often fear being ignored in a system that feels bureaucratic. By assuring them their voices echo beyond the courtroom, Simpson gives them something sentencing alone cannot: recognition. And in law, recognition is a form of justice.
And that is to bring back your son and your best friend. I don't have that power. God knows I wish I did. I can only try to make it as right as I can. And sometimes people come to court and they don't think that they're listened to. And I heard every word that each of you said. And I will tell you that even into this evening and certainly thereafter, your words, your grace will be with me. And I will hear it over and over. I don't think you guys realize, and again, like I'll say it again, I don't know you when you got up here, all three of you. You guys are extraordinary. It sometimes is not what I get when victims give their statements. Dad, I'll tell you one thing that I did, so I'll just disclose it. You had numerous conversations with Miss Polera, my probation. And as I was going through that, I would always ask, and maybe I did this because I'm a dad myself. And I would always ask Miss Polera when I'd see her in the hallway or I'd see her wherever, how's Dad doing? And she'd tell me that sometimes you were here, and then sometimes you were here, and then sometimes you were here. And all of that was normal. But I wanted to let you know that I was checking on you. Can't make it better, but Miss Polera was sending that information through to me all the time. And for all of you, what I do is I just wish you peace.
Here it comes, the actual sentence. This is where all the emotion, testimony, and legal arguments converge. Watch carefully how Simpson structures it: probation, financial penalties, restitution, community service, no driving, and yes, jail time. This is layered sentencing. Each part addresses a different dimension of justice: probation for supervision, fines for accountability, restitution for the family, community service for prevention, and jail for punishment. Notice also how he integrates the girlfriend's suggestion of driver education into his order. That shows he's not only listening but acting on victim recommendations. Judges rarely grant such requests so directly. This is sentencing as both punishment and prevention. For the viewers, do you think layering penalties like this delivers true justice, or does it risk diluting accountability?
It is a sentence of the court. We're going to place you on 24 months probation. You are to pay $855 fines and court costs, $720 probation oversight fees, $4,291.20 restitution to Earl Cornett payable through the court. When can you pay that?
take a little time, Your Honor, but I will make sure it's paid off in full as soon as possible.
Do you have anything with you today?
I'm due, but I'm not exactly sure the exact amount. I'm going to be getting a loan from my family to help pay it.
From who?
My family, Your Honor.
How much can be paid today?
Do you want your dad to try to answer that?
Yes.
Your Honor, may his dad help with that answer? That's okay.
That's fine.
Scott, all right. He's indicated 500 today, Your Honor. They have 1,000, Your Honor.
$1,000 today. I wanted it immediately checked into regarding the restitution so that when that $1,000 is paid, if the restitution is to go to the family, I want that to go to the family. I'll deal with the fines and costs probation. I don't care, but
Do you want that $1,000 put into bond for right now to hold it until we know, Judge?
yeah, I want it held until there's a determination. If it's supposed to go to the family,
I see. So it can be paid towards restitution.
it can be paid toward restitution and then we'll figure it out, but it won't be much, but we can do that. That amount needs to be paid in cash. So however they have to make that happen, it's got to be paid that way so that it can be paid out to the family.
And then, Your Honor, I'll try to get the answer from the insurance attorney as quickly, maybe even today if possible.
Very good. There is to be no use of alcohol, recreational marijuana, or any illegal substance. You'll be subject to random testing as requested by probation. You are to complete a driver improvement course as directed by probation. Going to, when it says that not that people aren't listened to. And I'm sorry, ma'am. What was your name again? I did not write it down, and I'm
Sherry.
Sherry.
Sherry and Gina, Your Honor.
All right, Sherry. I'm going to take your recommendation to the court. It struck me as something. You know, when you said, I don't want to ruin everybody's life, but maybe something good can come out of this. I say we give it a shot. So one of the things that I'm going to order is that I'm going to increase the number of community service hours. And I'm going to order 250 hours of community service, specifically with the extra 150 that I've added. I want that directed toward community service and talking to kids about how to operate a vehicle safely and to pay attention and what the consequences of not doing that can be. You understand that?
Yes, Your
Honor. Does that meet kind of what you were thinking of? I'm also going to order an added condition. I realize that his driving privileges in the state of Michigan are suspended, but I'm going to order no driving so that if he is caught driving in any respect whatsoever, that would be a violation of his probation as opposed to some sanction from the Secretary of State. Regard to jail, incarceration. The recommendation here is for the 45 days. When I walked out, I will tell you, certainly because I was going to listen to everybody, that I had not decided whether there was going to be any jail time, whether there was going to be the maximum amount of jail time. But I think Mom's right. whatever happened because there's not really an explanation, which is probably also difficult. It might be easier even if one were to hear, I wasn't paying attention and this would happen. Just something. But it's just absent. There's nothing. Over 365 days in jail, credit 4 days. And will indicate that defendant will be remanded to the Washtenaw County Jail. I am changing the recommendation of probation. Defendant will serve 90 days. And during those 90 days, I hope you take the time.
The headline decision, 90 days in jail, less than the maximum, more than zero. This is Judge Simpson's compromise between forgiveness and accountability. Why 90? It's symbolic, long enough to be felt, short enough to recognize Seth isn't a habitual criminal. But here's the key. Simpson ties the sentence directly to the mother's words. Remember her request. At least 3 months to think about what he's done. That is exactly what he orders. This is rare alignment. A judge shaping a sentence around a victim's plea. It validates the family's voice while reinforcing the seriousness of negligence. Do you agree with this balance? Or should the sentence have been harsher given the loss of life?
To do with that woman that bestowed grace upon you today and forgiving you. That you do that. That you think about this. And that you think about what has happened and just what your inattention and action, what that does to this family, what it's done to your family. So you will serve 90 days. The balance of that time will be suspended. There is also defendant is remanded. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lundy, for gracing our courtroom. Day you're not normally here. Okay.
Under different circumstances.
Absolutely. You folks take care of yourselves, please. These folks.
I'm Jeremy's aunt, Tammy.
Your most important title, right?
Yes.
Okay. Good meeting you.
Jeremy, may I approach an unrelated matter?
You may.
Under with me.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm gonna show you your family too.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
I'm sorry.
Next to something, say I'm loving.
You know what? I'll tell you a secret. I told him he didn't have to pay me the money back that night. And this morning on my way out, as I was coming here, because I knew I was dealing with this, I texted both my son and my daughter, told them to have a great day and that their dad loved them. Thank you. It is done. Take care. Take care.
And with those words, Judge Simpson closes the hearing. Let's recap. Seth High received probation, financial restitution, community service focused on youth driver education, and a 90-day jail term. The court acknowledged both the devastation of Jeremy's loss and the humanity of a defendant who wasn't malicious but negligent. This case embodies the complexity of justice, where punishment must coexist with forgiveness, and where no sentence can ever equal the value of a life lost. What stands out most is the victim's mother's grace. Her forgiveness set the tone for the courtroom and shaped the judge's decision. Cases like this remind us that justice isn't always about maximum sentences. It's about balance, accountability, and humanity. If you found this case as shocking as we did, make sure to hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping courtroom breakdowns.